everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to talk about, the theme of the topic today is backbone to the future. For those of you who are familiar with the movie reference, this is not about Marty McFly or flux capacitors, unfortunately, but we are going to talk about how AI is expected to transform service provider networks, how service providers can play a major role in the new AI ecosystem, and what is Cisco bringing to the market to help you with that transformation. So let's start by looking at some statistics. These are projections. If you look ahead over the next 5 years or so, one thing is clear, we expect to see a huge amount of traffic that is going to be AI traffic on our networks. You can see the number of, see the percentage growth in data centers. It's 33% between now and the end of the decade, right? That's data center capacity. Obviously, the equipment inside and the traffic that's within the data centers is much more. But to me, the more interesting stats are the ones on the right. If you look at, for example, the amount of traffic on service provider networks that we expect to see, 82% CAGR over this 5-year period. Why are we seeing that pattern, right? Why do we expect to see that pattern? The reason is this: if you think back to what has happened with AI and with all the talk that's been going around AI, most of the focus has been on training, right? Building large foundational models. That's really being done by a small set of hyperscalers and large cloud providers. What we are now starting to see emerge is the usage of AI. You're seeing us go from chatbots to agentic AI applications, right? Consumer applications, enterprise applications being enabled by these agents, and they're going to reach out to inferencing clouds, not training clouds, to get serviced. So that means we are seeing a large amount of investment and growth in inferencing clouds, and you can see the statistic there, 75% growth expected over the next few years. And then all these agents are going to generate a lot of traffic or demand a lot of traffic. All that is traversing a service provider network, right, essentially, because that's what's in the middle of the inferencing clouds and the end application. So we expect to see a large amount of AI-generated traffic traversing service provider networks. Just to give you a visual sense of how that looks like and what are the implications of that AI traffic on a service provider network, take a look at this picture. So it's a very simplified view of what a network looks like, right? You have inferencing clouds. Inferencing clouds are not going to be resident for the most part in large centralized or metro locations, right? These are going to be distributed into the edge. And this is very doable because, for one, inferencing clouds don't require as much compute and power capacity, and they're also very purpose-built, right? Unlike foundational models, which are quite homogeneous. By and large, most foundational models are based on Llama at this point in time, but inferencing models are very different. They are purpose-built for every vertical, every application, and so they, by definition, they are numerous, and they will be spread across a lot of data centers, edge data centers. And then you have the agents themselves sitting in application endpoints, whether in consumer applications, enterprise applications. We've already seen a few, right? We've seen things like co-pilots that are assisting development and so forth in enterprise use cases. We will see a lot more of that as we go forward. Some interesting characteristics about AI traffic. First of all, it is expected to generate a lot more bandwidth, right? And this bandwidth, you can think of it not just as downstream, but also a lot of it will be upstream. If you think back to some of the applications we are already seeing emerge, right? It's applications or people taking videos, uploading it to their closest inferencing cloud for processing. In a retail environment, it could be video feeds for security and such. So that is upstream traffic that is being generated by these end applications. So we do expect to see a lot more upstream traffic. Some of the measurements we have done show that that is already starting to happen, even though it's very nascent. We will see a lot more of that. Some of this traffic will also be latency sensitive. Not all, but there will be a percentage of traffic that will be highly latency sensitive perhaps for things like real-time security applications and all of the other things that we hear about when it comes to latency sensitivity. That means you have to design your networks for it, right? Even if a percentage of the traffic is going to be latency sensitive, you have to be prepared for it. And then finally, this traffic is going to be multi-directional, because if you think about how these agents will talk to inferencing clouds, they're not going to go north-south to one particular inferencing cloud. They're actually going to reach out to multiple inferencing clouds in different locations to resolve the query that they have been asked to resolve. And that leads to a lot more multi-directionality of traffic. So this is what we need to architect our networks for. These are the kinds of traffic patterns that we need to be prepared for. And this is why we feel, when we look at service providers, you've always been the backbone of the internet, whether it's for voice, data, or video. And in the AI era, it's not going to be any different, right? And so this is our thesis, that in the coming few years, the focus is going to shift towards consumption of AI traffic. It's going to be an agentic AI era, and service providers are going to be at the heart of it. What are the solutions Cisco is bringing, right, for this era? First of all, we have built a brand new set of routing platforms, brand new infrastructure, purpose-built for this coming age. It's the Cisco 8000 portfolio, and it is here today. It is extremely compact, it's secure, it's highly efficient, and it's built for scale as well as connectivity that we expect to see in this age of AI. The second thing we are focusing on is delivering automation capabilities that are infused with AI. So we have our Crosswork suite. It's a very comprehensive suite. It's multi-vendor, right, to begin with. It also is comprehensive enough to cover all domains of a service provider's network. And then now what we have done is we have introduced an agentic AI platform within the Crosswork suite, and we are building a host of agents that are already starting to ship. Each of these agents can perform individual tasks in autonomous manners. Just as an example, we have an autonomous agent that will monitor the network for configuration drifts. If it observes configuration changes being put into the network that may cause harm, it's going to raise an alarm or actually correct it. So think of it like the auto steer capabilities you have on some cars, where if the driver's a little careless and you start drifting a little bit off the lane, it'll bring you back, right, and prevent an accident. That's the kind of thing we're starting to introduce now. We'll also open this platform up for our customers and partners, so you can build your own agents on top of it. Putting these agents together in entire life cycles will help us move towards the level 4 autonomy as defined by the TM Forum. The technical capabilities are there today. And then finally, we are also introducing a number of technologies that will allow us to dramatically simplify connectivity architectures. Things like SR, segment routing, and SRv6, bringing IP and optical together. All of these technologies allow us to offer new connectivity models and services in a highly efficient and simplified manner, leading to dramatic CapEx and OpEx gains. And I'll show you some examples of service providers who've already implemented some of it and the gains that they are seeing in a little bit. All of this comes with security embedded everywhere into our infrastructure. Increasingly, we are bringing in security embedded right into our platforms. And you'll see a lot of that, whether it is quantum-safe cryptography that we embed into our platform, DDoS mitigation that's embedded into our platform, or capabilities like the ability to self-defend and protect with a capability called Live Protect. All of this is being embedded into our platforms now. And in order to make it easy for our service provider customers, we have taken all of these pillars, right? The portfolio, the automation capabilities, the services that we are able to bring together, wrapped it into an architecture that we refer to as the Agile Services Networking Architecture. It's a blueprint. It's available on our websites, and it's available for you to directly work with and implement, or you can work with our CX teams if you need help, and they'll help you implement these architectures to prepare you for what's coming next. I want to give you an example of some of the enhancements, some of the innovation we've done when it comes to platforms for the AI era. What do I mean, right, by that? Here's a real example. So about 3 weeks ago, we introduced our latest platform built for high-capacity use cases. So this is a single chip P200 Silicon One based architecture. That's our chip. And we wrapped it into a single 3RU platform that can do 51 terabits of capacity. So think about what this means. There is no other platform in the industry today that can give you that much bandwidth density in that kind of a form factor. The only way to get that kind of capacity today is to actually put a big chassis in there, which takes 8, 9, 10 kilowatts. This thing is less than 1,000 watts. So incredible efficiencies. So for all your backbone networks, aggregation, peering, et cetera, you can actually upgrade to something like this, be ready for traffic demands, capacity demands in an extremely efficient manner, right? We've got multiple flavors of this. I don't know if we have a system in the showcase area, but this will be shipping in about 4 months. We already are shipping some versions of it for our hyperscale customers. For our service provider customers, we'll have that in about 4 months as well. The other thing that I mentioned briefly, I want to come back to that a little bit, which is our automation suite, right? We call it Crosswork. So over the last couple of years, what we did is we spent a lot of time and energy in making the suite extremely comprehensive, right? So it can now automate the entire life cycle of service provider operations, right from onboarding a device to configuring it, and then day-to-day management, assurance, all of that is now embedded in our Crosswork suite. It's the industry's most comprehensive automation suite for service providers. And then we have now infused it with AI capabilities that I mentioned before. So it's a brand new agentic platform that's available in our Crosswork suite, and this is available today. We will obviously continue to build AI capabilities and agents into this as we go forward, but this is a platform that we anticipate helping us drive the industry towards autonomous networking. One other thing that we have also done along with this is we have taken all of the data that we get from our Crosswork platform and we are integrating it into Splunk. And what does this allow us to do? It gives us the ability to do multi-domain correlations and management, not just in a service provider's network, but also across things like your ticketing systems and so forth that you may have. So the combination of Splunk and Crosswork gives you an extremely comprehensive end-to-end view. I want to wrap by showing you some statistics here. These are real-world examples of service providers who have implemented some or all aspects of our Agile Services Networking blueprint that I was mentioning earlier. So just take a look at some of the metrics here. Look at what Geo has been able to accomplish. They have 600 million mobile users. That is massive scale. It's being enabled by Cisco's Agile Services Networking architecture. They have perhaps one of the largest networks in the world when it comes to an access network, more than 300,000 devices, right? Look at some of the power savings that we are getting at Internet to Korea Telecom and so forth. And this is comparing previous generation equipment that they had and replacing it with the latest generation equipment, especially one that is based on Cisco 8000. And then look at the OpEx and CapEx savings that a provider like Aurelion in EMEA has advertised, right? Massive savings. In some cases, when you upgrade your network from existing legacy devices to the latest devices, the amount of savings that you get can pay for the cost of the entire upgrade within a period of 2 to 3 years. So that is actually one of the factors that many of our customers are looking at and accounting for when they think about what do they need, what are the factors driving network transformation. Just the modern technology that is available that sets you up for the next decade is a big factor as well. So with that, I want to wrap the sort of presentation section. Hopefully that gives you a fair bit of context on how are we thinking about this. And then I want to invite Asif Khan from NBN onto the stage. And I'd like to have you hear from him as well, his perspectives on all of these. Asif, why don't you introduce yourself for an audience that may not know all of what you guys do.
Thanks, Guru. I hope I'm audible to everybody. Is that all okay? So my name is Asif Khan. I'm from National Broadband Network Australia, primarily working in the fixed wireless engineering team, responsible for end-to-end architecture and strategy. Yeah. And you'll get to know more during the session that what NBN does and how our partnership with Cisco works.
Perfect, come on in.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Sure. All right, let's start there, right? So, can you share a little bit more about NBN and what's your vision and how are you, thinking about the Australia region in particular and as a whole provider of wholesale solutions, how are you thinking about evolving your networks and the kinds of things that you need?
Sure, so I think I'd love to give a bit of a background for NBN for people who don't know. So we all started back in 2009, and the mandate from the government was to simply provide a layer 2 internet backhaul services so that we can bridge the digital divide. So we're not into the game of providing any layer 3 services or our RSP, because for that, they are our customers. So that started with, as I say, very simple mandate, but now we have got a much more bigger role to play, that we are the digital backbone for the country. We are kind of running all the critical services as well as the residential applications and enterprise services. And the way we foresee going forward is that if we don't monetize our investment and look into the path of AI, we don't want to be just left as a layer 2 provider. So that's why our partnership and the embarking on the new technologies with the partners is to make sure that we are far ahead in the game, and we are maintaining that sort of a future looking forward path for the country.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So as you think about expanding your portfolio of services, going beyond just being a layer 2 provider, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing? And it's an incredibly dynamic market, APJC, right? So
it is.
How do you
indeed.
Navigate some of these things?
So I think again, I'll bring back to the journey where we started. When we all started back in 2009, we all were lucky to have a greenfield experience. To give you more perspective, that NBN is a multi-technology mix provider. So we have got fiber to the base, fiber to the curve, fiber to the prim. We have got HFC network. We have got fixed wireless, as well as we run a satellite. But end of the day, we provide a layer 2 connectivity to our access seekers, and then they cater the services for the end user. So when we started, we thought that having a fiber network is going to give us oodle of bandwidth for next, let's say, 10 years or whatever. But our myth was bursted by the Netflix. And that was in 2015, and that was a big learning curve. We saw that all the capacity modeling, all our planning was kept on side because that was an exponential growth which we never anticipated. So that was a lesson learned, that the demand for need for speed, because the way the customers and the industry is evolving, you could not put a an empirical formula to forecast a capacity. It has to be more real. So need for speed is the biggest thing what we have seen, as well as all the ultra low latency services, for example, VRs and ARs. So these are things which are driving, even though we are not in the game, but we want to make sure that our access seekers are empowered, they can innovate in that space, and they will bring all those benefits to the end customer. And the last but not the least is service differentiation. What we are observing, that we are a flat layer 2 service, I usually call that as a dumb pipe, but the end customers are driving the need for example, gaming, which is ultra low latency, your banking application, a lot of medical services are running critical services, so that needs some degree of a service differentiation. So if I club all these three together, that's our real customer drive.
Yeah.
What is helping us to build a network for the future and meet the demand for the current state.
It's interesting what you say about Netflix, because a similar thing happened when we had our ChatGPT moment, 3 years back.
Absolutely.
All projections went out the window, and everybody scrambled to figure out how to deal with the implications of this new AI wave that's coming in, right? So.
Well, it was interesting when you were presenting your slides, that right now there's a lot of talk about AI, and mainly it's in the data centers where a lot of GPU-based modeling and stuff is happening. We really haven't seen a lot of traffic transversing through the network, but I think the days are not far away. Yeah. It's a matter of time. That will drive another whole niche industry, need for having a stable and very reliable network.
And one thing I didn't really get a chance to talk about in the session for lack of time is the ability to measure and monitor, have telemetry to be able to identify how much AI versus non-AI traffic is traversing to the network, be able to do assurance around that and so forth, right? So that's also part of our Agile Services Networking architecture blueprint that we put out. And I know we've partnered together on this particular architecture. You've implemented facets of that architecture.
Absolutely, yes.
Would you care to share some of your experiences, learnings, et cetera?
Yeah, so let's say that we are, so I'm talking primarily for the fixed wireless component of the national broadband network. So we invested into Cisco's NCS 540s platforms and 550s, and they are true enabler for us to provide that deep MPLS reach out to the access network. So what we are learning is that by investing in these NCS platform, and then we invested into Cisco cross-network controllers, we have created a complete loop for the automation. So our network at this stage at the transport layer is designed that it can make autonomous network and decisions by looking into two parameters. One is bandwidth, and second is time sensitivity. Whereas in the past, we used to have a lot of NOC members, and they are getting alarms and monitoring. Whereas these two solutions has really helped us to do that closed loop automation.
Yeah. No, it's, and as a part of working with you to design for your network, we've learned a lot and we've implemented a lot of layer 2 features, telemetry features, all of that into our infrastructure as well. So it's been a good partnership both ways, for
we value that.
Yeah. Very good. One of the things that, as we look forward, if we look back at some of the technologies that have been in use for over a decade, right? MPLS, right? And I know MPLS is still being used heavily and will continue to support that. But we saw that we have an opportunity to simplify protocols in the internet significantly. Simplification leads to resiliency, it allows for better scale and so forth. So we've been really focusing on things like IP and optical convergence, SRv6, right? We're seeing a lot of uptake in many parts of the world for SRv6 in particular. I wanted to get your thoughts on how you're thinking about technologies like SRv6. What place do you see for them? Granted, it's going to take time for many of our customers to get there because it's always an evolution, but what's your perspective on that?
I think it's an interesting space to keep a close eye on that because I just mentioned earlier that we have deployed NCS 550s and we are running MPLS network. The main beauty of that is that because we don't have such a huge scale, and I was looking at your slides earlier, you mentioned one of your customers, Geo, has got 600 or 6,000 million customers.
Correct.
And I could not...
600 million mobile subscribers, yeah.
My goodness, and there were 300,000 site routers.
Devices.
So if somebody has to manage an MPLS network on those edge routers in the mobile transport network, that's a nightmare. So I personally strongly believe that segment routing and that to working on IPv6 is the way to go for. So not only in the transport space, also in the data center space, because the way the data autonomy and the data scale happens, I don't think that we can live with the world of MPLS. So segment routing on IPv6, I've got a strong feeling that that is the future.
Yeah.
How we can adapt, I think that's a question for us to think from the roadmap perspective. Right. But I think industry surely will be picking up pretty quick on that thing.
And that's where we are also investing a lot in technologies that will allow you and practices that will allow our customers to migrate from existing architectures, MPLS based, with SR MPLS, maybe to SRv6 then as a go through an intermediate step. So we certainly have all of the knowledge and the best practices to help our customers on that evolution journey. It's interesting, one thing, if you guys attended the session in the morning, the keynote session, one of the things that Jeff Schultz said was that with the rise of agents, it's going to look like the population of 8 billion humans is going to be more like 80 billion because you have all these agents that are supplementing humans. And if you think about what that means, these are agents sitting at these endpoints, consumer applications, enterprise applications, all kinds of stuff. And you need to be able to service all these applications, right? And there isn't a technology other than something like SRv6 that will allow you to provide scale of connections and so forth. We will obviously see a lot of optimizations, but you have to think forward as to what kind of scale might we be looking at with the rise of the agentic AI, with physical AI and so forth. So us building these foundational blocks now, when we look ahead, putting these kinds of technologies in place now really helps us prepare for the next 5, 10, 15 years and be ready, right? So that's an aspect I would highly encourage everybody to kind of think about as you think about evolving your networks for AI. So looking ahead, what do you see as your vision for NBN, things that we should also take into account for providers like yourself, partnering with you? What's your view of how you want to evolve for the future?
I think I'll probably suggest, or I'll say that NBN being a government-based entity, we don't want to deal into any sort of a customized networks or proprietary stack. We want to live in the open world of standards. So Metro Ethernet Forum plays a pretty vital role for us to look for the forward-looking plan for all access technologies. And autonomous network is I'm sure that's the kind of a vision for most of the operators, but we are making a very sort of a conscious decision and investment towards autonomous network. Right. So let me sort of give you a bit more sort of a talking point that, so autonomous network, it's not that we've got to wait for industry to get the framework ready. We have already started the journey. So the journey means that we want to be, for sure, supporting self configuration, for example. So we are partnering with Cisco, and we delivered zero-touch provisioning. Security is an integral part of that. We could not just have something to deliver into the remote field of Australia. So we were the world's first one, and that's what I said yesterday as well, that I feel very proud that NBN, together with Cisco, we delivered the secure zero-touch provisioning, which is one of the pivotal factors for the autonomous network.
Yep.
Then we are looking into the self-configuration part, which means that using the CNC platform to do all those optimization based on bandwidth and time delays and route path optimization. That is the second step. We have got an aspiration to get into the self-healing part. That's where assurance activities and operational aspect of the network comes in. We have done some proof of concept, I'll be pretty honest here, but we don't have anything yet into the production network, but that's our plan for a year or two from now. Right. And finally, I think we want to make sure that we should have a network which is self-secure, because we could not leave the network which is having a band-aid security approach. So if you get sort of a config, optimized, self-healing, and self-secure, that is what we are aiming for up to 2030 at this stage. Yeah. And which I'm pretty sure is the kind of industry vision as well. Yeah. And in that scale, we can't drive the things by ourselves. We've got to be having a strong partnership and industry support for that.
Absolutely, and it's still early days in many ways. When we talk about autonomous networking, that's always been sort of the holy grail, right? Getting to self-healing, self-configuration, self-configuring networks and so forth. But for the first time, I really feel like we have a set of technologies, right, in AI that will allow us to make this possible. Because AI, it comes with reasoning capabilities. These are self-improving technologies. It's a set of technologies we never had access to before. Correct. So Cisco's been investing a lot in this space. I would really request you to go look at some of the things we're doing, particularly in Crosswork, because it's a massive amount of investment we've done. We've built our own deep network model, for example, right? So we're not taking generic LLMs and applying AI agents and all against them, but we've actually trained a specific network model with the data that we have, designed specifically for networking use cases. And we are running our applications against these models, so the efficacy of this is much better. So there's a ton of good stuff to unpack here. You've been excellent partners, NBN, Asif, yourself personally, and the NBN team, so really appreciative of that. And I look forward to continuing that collaboration. Thank you so much for everything that we've been doing together. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. We've pretty much covered everything that I had intended to cover in this session. Hopefully that gives you a good flavor of where we are going, how we are investing. And do come and check out. We have our space in the world of solutions if you want to come check out some of our technologies and so forth. And with that, thank you, Asif.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
And thank you, everyone.